Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, May the 15th, 2019. I am Shawn King, joined as always by my beautiful wife.
Hi, Melissa King. That's me.
Thank you guys very much for joining us. This is show number 1213. 1213. On tonight's show, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop from loopinsight.com, as usual, about the recent Supreme Court decision to allow a lawsuit to go ahead and what that lawsuit may or may not mean. Some people are portraying this as the end of the App Store. It's not. Jim wrote a editorial about this on the loopinsight.com website you could check out to get a little bit of background about what we are going to talk about. We're also going to talk about Apple's new NFC support. And Apple was... NFC, Melissa, is near field communications, so devices can talk to each other in very short distances. Like the tap that we do for the Apple Pay, that's NFC technology. Apple just announced they're going to be broadening that to a bunch of different things. When you and I go into the big city and pay for parking, I pull out that Pay by Phone app and do that stuff. Well, with NFC, there'll be a little sticker on the parking meter, and all we'll have to do is tap our iPhone on it. No longer have to open up an app and do all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of cool. How's that going to shake out? How's that going to work for Apple? We'll talk to Jim about that. We've got a new segment on tonight's show, thanks to her. It's called, Hey, I Have a Question with Melissa. What's your question tonight, Melissa?
Oh, you want me to say it now? My question tonight is, so often, very often, because I have to write lots of reports on my MacBook for work, and oftentimes I need to refer to other documents, medical documents or checklists, to put in my report. And I would like to know, because I know there's a split screen option here on one of these buttons here where you can press and other documents come up.
Yes.
Is there a way that I can bring up both documents and access one to write on another?
And you already know the answer to that, but we will talk about that later on in the new segment. I Have a Question with Melissa. In our starting point for doggy segment, we're going to talk about, I got an interesting comment from someone who's a subscriber to the Your Mac Life Daily, the newsletter I put out each and every weekday. You can subscribe to it. Send me an email and I'll tell you where to subscribe to it. Why don't you just shoot video for photography? You shoot video and then you just pick out the good frames of the video. Might seem on the surface to be a good question, but it's actually not a good solution. We'll talk about that and why that is on the starting point photography segment. Last week Tuesday, the week yesterday, was my birthday. Oh, look, you can see I've got. Damn it! It's been sitting the right way all week long. Melissa's very. There it is. Melissa's very sweet, crazy friend Di sent at the little birthday get-together we had with friends, a 30th birthday balloon and a princess balloon, which is hilarious. And she gave me a princess balloon. But more importantly, that get-together last week Tuesday was just a preliminary to her birthday. She is turning this Friday 45 years old.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, folks.
I'm telling everyone, shh, don't tell them. You're 45. They'll believe me. Everyone would believe me. They won't believe I'm 30. They can certainly believe you're 45.
35, says Mo.
Do I hear 30? Do I 30 going once? Going twice. Sold to the man in the blue jacket. Something about that. So you are getting a whole bunch of Facebook stuff from friends back home in Australia. What started that?
There's a high school reunion coming up, I think.
That's
And what I ended up doing was I sent a Throwback Thursday shot of me and my friend Joe in 1995 when I was in Australia after I graduated from university. And I did the first thing ever. I know I'm so non-nerdy. I tagged Joe in it. And, of course, Joe follows everyone from high school and she knows everyone. So everyone's going, holy shit, that's Melissa. So, So I've been found.
Have you?
Yes.
That's good. I wouldn't recognize anybody I went to high school with. I don't know their names. I know the names of two people I went to high school with, Joyce Wenzel and Donna Capote. And the only reason I remember Joyce, because she was an absolute sweetheart, And Donica, because we dated very, very briefly, we were really, really good friends. And Donica is, at some point, I don't know if she still is, the Canadian ambassador to an Asian country.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Very cool. Congratulations to Donica.
Yeah, yeah.
Good for her. It's it's not China. It's a small Asian country. I don't remember which one it is. But it's the only two people I remember from high school.
I look at the pictures and I go, there's so-and-so, there's so-and-so, there's so-and-so.
I've never gone. Yeah, I wouldn't. If you show me a picture of my high school reunion, I wouldn't recognize anybody. Which is kind of sad. I've never gone in my reunions. Have you?
Oh, no. I've never been to a reunion of any kind.
I've never been to any of my. I've never been invited. They lost touch with me many years ago. But I don't think I'd go even if I was invited. Parkview Education Center was where I went to school in Bridgewater, Nova Scotia. And yeah, I have no reason. Did you hear this story? That's where I was going with this. The story that Chris Evans, like Thor, went to his high school reunion.
Thor?
No, Captain America.
Oh.
Went to his high school reunion?
Ooh.
What a dick.
Why?
Because, are you kidding me?
What, should he be ashamed of his success?
No, he shouldn't lord it over everybody, though.
Oh, that is not lording over. He's a person.
No, he's not. He's a god. He is far too good looking to go to his high school reunion.
Oh, I'm sure everybody loved it.
All the girls did. You should have seen the pictures. They're all like,
oh my God, yes.
They're all drooling
Although
over
I
him.
find Thor much more attractive than him. I'm not that attracted to Captain America.
Sherry points out, I like that you wrote his name on his name tag.
It
It was so funny.
Remember me?
He's wearing a cardigan, and it says Chris. The funniest thing in the world.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I don't know if it's sweet and cool or you're just being a jerk.
No, he's not being a jerk.
You'd have to know what he was like in high school. Maybe he was the nerdy little kid everyone picked on.
Or just a nice guy.
And he's coming back like, kind of thing. Don't you like me now? Don't you wish you'd been my friend in high school?
Even if that's the case, I think it's okay.
Yeah, it still made everyone feel bad. I'm sure it did. I would have felt bad. Because luckily, I'm the most well-known person in my high school, except for obviously the ambassador.
Yes, that's right.
I don't think I'd be willing to bet no one from my high school even left the town. It was just,
I know.
It's a fishing village, and they're all fishermen, they're farmers, one of the two. Yeah, I think that's just hilarious. They went to his high school reunion.
He's probably a lovely guy, and he probably thought, I just want to see everybody again. I don't get a sense that he was doing it to show off.
I would be doing it to show off. I would definitely.
You would actually.
I might have gone in the Captain of America outfit.
Oh my God.
I think.
Anyway,
Just to
I do
be
agree.
sure.
I know he's drooly. I agree. He's lovely.
He's very drooly.
Yes.
As Sly would call him yummer.
He's yummy.
He's very yummy. But yeah, because for a lot of people. Most people hated high school. I loved high school, but most people hated high school. Do you like high school?
Yeah.
Most people actively didn't like it for any number of reasons, puberty and girls and boys.
Yeah, I mean, there was tough times.
Well, tough times. And so maybe you go back to high school to commiserate in your misery, but some people also go back to high school reunions to see how people did and compare themselves, rightfully so, because it's the nature of human beings. Oh, well, at least I'm not as fat as Jim. Or Susan really let herself go, or that kind of stuff. We do that, whether we do it consciously or admit it. We definitely do that. We do compare ourselves to other people, and part of that is the reason why you go to high school. I think college reunions are more to see what people are doing now and touch base, and especially in fields. So if you go to your college reunion for geology, you're looking for connections in the field and jobs and that kind of stuff, maybe. But high school I think it's all about personality, all about that thing. And so when you go back, if you didn't enjoy high school, I don't know why you go back to high school reunion if you didn't enjoy high school anyway. But, there's those popular kids who maybe they're going back to reclaim lost glory kind of stuff. There's so much going on around a high school reunion. But like I said, for me, it would have no effect on me whatsoever. I don't remember anybody. I don't have any interest in it. Although I loved high school, I don't have any real interest in going back and revisiting those people because I don't remember them. I don't know who they were or who they are. Even the girls I dated, I remember some of their names, but I couldn't pick them out of a police lineup. I don't know if it's a good thing or not. How about you? If you could go to your 40th, would you go?
Um,
And how would you feel about that?
well, I feel quite proud of who I am and my life and beautiful children and what I've achieved. So, well, that sounds like I mean, I'm not. It's not like I would go feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't feel good about myself. I'd go happily, see how it went. Might be fun.
Yeah, I think it depends on who you are as a person at that point in time. You know, it depends on what high school was like for you, whether you liked it or didn't like it, or as Monty says, to say I hated high school isn't nearly a strong enough statement. Dave D, I was at a folks I knew in high school but became friends in college. We still get together occasionally. So yeah, I think it depends on who you are and where you are in your life. If you're an abject failure, I don't think you'd want to go back to your high school.
No, I get that, but a part of it for me when we went back to Australia the Christmas before last was that, and my dear friend Joe, like there are memories that are brought up out of the past that you'd forgotten, and you go, oh yeah. And I was enjoying that. I was enjoying the memories that I had forgotten.
It also helps that you're still hot. So it's not like you're going back to high school reunion and you weigh 200 pounds. You go back to high school reunion and you'd be like, still got it, kind of thing. Whereas I couldn't do that.
Because you were really hot in high school?
Yeah, I had hair. The only thing I'm the same as high school is I'm the same height. That's the only thing that Shawn at 18 has in common with Shawn now.
You're still tall.
You're still tall. That's it. I still remember that day in high school, in the high school weight room, standing on that scale and measuring myself for the first time, and I was 225 pounds. I was like, today I'm a man! I'm now 200 pounds!
Wow.
Now I'd have to cut off limbs to get to that weight. I'll never see 200 for as long as I live.
I don't think he's going to, no.
Unless I have some sort of horrible wasting disease. I've never seen the other side of 200.
No, it's not going to happen.
It'll take several years after I die. You know what?
Breakdown.
You know what you could do when I die?
Corpse.
When I die, put a scale underneath the coffin, and then the scale electronically is attached to an iPhone on the grave marker, and then there's an alarm that goes off when Shawn hits.
You're going to have to help me with this, Monty?
When I decompose down to 200 pounds.
And we could go, woo!
Exactly. Then have a party.
Yeah, we could smash some champagne on the gravestone.
Pour some ice cream out for me.
Like a huge bowl. Yes, giant bowls of gelato ice cream.
Folks, later on the show, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple, The Loop at loopinsight.com, about the Apple introducing more NFC support, about the iTunes the App Store Supreme Court decision. Melissa's going to have her segment of, hey, I have a question. And on Starting Point Photography, we're going to talk about why you don't shoot video to take photographs. All that and much more coming up. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining me here on this Wednesday evening. In our phone, we've got our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing better now that we got FaceTime video turned off.
You know what? It's when I plugged in. That's weird. When I plugged in my headset to the iPhone, FaceTime on my Mac came up. I don't know why. It should not have happened that way. God damn it, Apple. You wrote
and then all of a sudden your face popped up on my phone and scared the shit out of me.
Well, how do you think I felt?
Well, you know,
I saw the same face. I don't want to see this face.
I'm just saying.
You put pen to paper earlier in the week to write an editorial on The Loop with regards to the Supreme Court App Store decision. Now, what possessed you to do that? You're not a editorial kind of guy.
Because I just don't agree with the premise of this lawsuit.
How so?
Well, I mean, there are lots of ways that you could probably frame a lawsuit like this, but to put it on price is just wrong.
Yeah.
Because the price of apps have come so far down that it truly bothers me to see people on Twitter or, you know, you're talking to people and they complain about an app that's 99 cents or $1.99. The only thing that people value these days is free.
Yeah.
That's all they value. Even if they find it useful, they value free.
Yeah.
And it just drives me crazy because I know a lot of developers. We all do.
Yeah.
You know, some people listening could be developers themselves. And, you know, you look at all of the things that you have to do in order to be a developer, and then people complain about 99 cents. And then if you make the app free and put ads in it, then they complain about that.
Yep.
You know, they just want stuff for free, but they expect to get paid for their jobs.
Yep.
You know, so it really does piss me off. And the same thing pisses me off about music. People enjoy music. They love music. They don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
Well, why can't I have that for free? You know, and it's just, and this case in the Supreme Court is just wrong. It's wrong.
Well, the case in the Supreme Court, just to be clear to everybody, that and you did point this out in the article, it's not just about what a lot of pundits are saying. Basically, the Supreme Court said it's okay for the lawsuit to go ahead based on the fact that Apple is saying that only developers can sue on this issue. The Supreme Court says, no, that's not necessarily the case, even though there was a precedent with Apple back, I think, in 1977. The court ignored that precedent and is allowing this case to go forward. There's no guarantee that Apple's still going to lose the case, and I don't think they will, because the price of the apps, the vast majority of apps on the App Store are either free or 99 cents. The price can't get lower.
Right.
Apple's not artificially raising the price of things to cover their 30% cost. If most of the apps are free on the App Store, Apple's absorbing most of the costs with regards to that. And developers, if they're putting ads in their apps, are getting all that money to themselves without giving a cut to Apple. So
that's true.
I think in the long run, while a lot of people, including Wall Street, will look at this and say, oh, Apple's in trouble, no matter how long this case takes, 2, 3, 4, I've even seen 5 years. In the long run, Apple will come out ahead on this. Will they come out better? I don't know. But I think in the long run, they would win this lawsuit. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And at least I hope so. I just can't believe that people are so short-sighted that they would even want to bring this to court. But, you know, like I said in that piece, I think what is not understood is what the platform is actually doing for us as consumers in providing, you know, security and privacy and safety. That's what we're getting out of this.
I agree.
You know, we're getting a central place to buy the apps. Our credit card is on file. It's secure, and that's what I want. And you know, the alternative is to have apps that you can, I guess, sideload and, you know, put on your phone or your device, and God knows what will be on those. The malware, and I agree still with what I said in there, that if that is allowed to happen, somebody is going to get hacked,
yep.
and the story won't be some idiot installed an app that they shouldn't have and get hacked. It'll be iPhone gets hacked.
Yep, exactly. And look at this recent case of the WhatsApp app. That's an app that Apple has allowed into the store, and yet it was still able to work around those systems. You say in your article that its system of rigorous review of all apps submitted to the App Store, Apple makes sure everything we download is safe. That's not 100% true. It's very, very, very true. And I have 99.9% of the apps I download from the App Store, I worry nothing about. I don't think for a single second that they're hacking tools or data mining tools beyond the obvious stuff. Do you think the WhatsApp case is an example of the exception to the rule, or disproves you?
Absolutely an exception, because it was one of those 0-day, vulnerabilities that's embedded in the code.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that WhatsApp planned to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't that they were putting malware on their phone to allow you to, or somebody to be able to track you or anything.
Yeah.
It's a vulnerability in the code, and we see those types of vulnerabilities everywhere.
Yeah.
So if there was a piece of malware or something embedded in the code, I believe Apple would have found that. So this just baffles me.
Yeah.
I can't imagine it's a money grab. It's got to be some kind of a grab that these people, whoever they are assholes.
Well, I think this is a very typical case, and my apologies for the insult I'm about to deliver to all our lawyer friends. This is a bunch of lawyers seeing dollar signs. I don't think the average consumer who's paying 99 cents for an app thinks, I want them to be 30% cheaper, so I want Apple to remove this commission rate. I don't think that's it at all. I think these lawyers have figured out a class action lawsuit with Apple in the hopes of getting a resolution from Apple, the deep pockets of Apple. I think the biggest problem comes down to the Supreme Court even allowing the case to go forward from a consumer point of view. I find Apple's argument compelling that you're not buying the app from Apple. You're buying it from the developer. Apple's just the middleman. They're making the transportation of the app easier. Apple is the mailman of the app. You're telling the developer, hey, I want to buy your app. The developer is putting it in the virtual mail. Apple is your mailman. He's just delivering it to you. You can't sue the mailman for delivering the package.
Right.
So I was surprised that the Supreme Court, again, because there has been precedent in the past that Apple is just the delivery mechanism. The developer sets the price. Doesn't this also bring up the point that, and this may be developers' fault, because of the race to the bottom, that, when apps first came out, a lot of them were $4.99. You saw some that occasionally $9.99. And when developers started to undercut themselves, when they went to $3.99 and then $2.99 and then $9 and then free, isn't some of this issue on the developers' fault for them racing to the bottom, trying to get market share?
Of course it is, but developers were put in a position where you have to sell your app. So there's two ways to make money selling an app: price it at $9.99 or $20.99 or whatever it is, or do volume. Well, Apple has proven that they can do volume. Yes. So developers are switching either to pure volume or subscription.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how sustainable it is. I really don't. I feel bad for developers that are basically giving their app away, hoping that, people will download 1 million of them. Yeah. And they can make their money. Or somebody's going to come along and copy it and give it away for free, and then you're screwed.
The other aspect of this that I find interesting is that and again, partially this is Apple's fault by making apps available to have in-app purchases and ads, free apps that have ads in them. Apple kind of encouraged this as well. So developers could say, hey, I can give away my app for free and hope I make it up on the backside when people click on these ads or buy this loot box or that kind of stuff. So there's a whole bunch of things going on here. Apple bears some responsibility in that respect too, don't they?
Well, I think Apple is just giving the developers what they need to be able to do. The race to the bottom started years ago, and I think a lot of that came from some developers releasing apps for free and basically killing the market.
Yeah.
So when you can get a competing app for nothing, and then then there was the in-app upgrade and things like that. But when you can get a competing app for nothing, why are people going to pay $9.99 for it?
Yep.
Well, they're not going to, and then those developers had to change. And you remember, and some of the listeners will remember, back in the days of shareware.
Yeah.
I mean, you were paying $10 for a Mac app, in shareware days.
Yep.
But now, I don't know if, besides business cases, I don't know if people would pay $10 for an app on their iPad or iPhone.
Yeah, and I think part of the issue too is that I would only do that if I had read reviews by trusted sources, you and others who I know have my sensibilities, and they would say, hey, this app is worth $10. Perfect example was an app called Photo Pills. And when it originally came out, it was $19.99. And I read a bunch of reviews on it and I thought, wow, $20 for an iOS app, that's a lot of money. And I would not have bought it unless I had read reviews about it. And the reviews said, hey, this is a great app. It does this, this, and this. And I went, oh, okay, great. I'll give $20 to this developer. It's now down to $9.99, but it's still a great app. But because Apple has removed the ability for reviewers to make even a couple of pennies from those reviews by including links to iOS apps and getting a bit of a cut, very much like Amazon affiliate codes, now there are fewer and fewer reviews available. And unless I know the company, the developer, the people behind the app, I'm not going to spend $19.99 on an iOS app ever again. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to see it in the store and go, yes, that sounds good, click. Because I've been burnt so many times, even by 99-cent apps or free apps, been burnt so many times. We've been doing this for a lot of years, and God forbid, I don't want to find out how much money I've spent on apps over the years. So after a while, you go, you know what? I don't need another photo app. I'm not going to spend another 99 cents or $4.99 on a photo app unless it does something for me that I want. And that forces, and so developers have lower sales, and that forces them to lower the price. And here we go again, down that slippery slope to $0 in in-app ads.
Well, and at what point the developers just say this isn't sustainable?
Yep.
Goodbye.
I've seen several developers. I think it's Icon Factory has said it. I think the Omni Group have said it. They've said that these are the customers we want. We want customers who are willing to spend $9.99 on these apps or $19.99, whatever it might be on these apps. If you don't want to spend that money, that's fine. We're not going to lower the price. It's not going to be sales. Not going to be that kind of stuff. We are drawing a line in the sand. And I really appreciate the folks at Icon Factory and Omni Group and others who say that out loud, who say, yes, we know we could make this $0 and put ads in. That's not the business we want to be in. We're going to stay here at $4.99, $5.99, $9.99, see if we can't make money at this point. And if we can't make money at this point, at that price point, then maybe we don't deserve to be in business.
Well, I agree with them. The App Store seems to be a great place for games. People love to play games on there. I don't. I don't play games, so that's not for me. Because of what I do, any productivity apps I use mostly on my Mac. So the apps I buy on the App Store are like you. They're different,
Yeah.
but they're based on what people tell me is good and reviews that I read and things like that.
Benedict Evans wrote, "A hill I will die on, curated app stores, with platform owners making decisions around things that will not be allowed at all, are a massive step forward and have huge benefits to actual users for security, privacy, ease of use, and safety." And I'll die on that hill with him. I appreciate the fact that Apple does this, even though they're not perfect and they've had plenty of mistakes. But A, none of the mistakes have directly affected me, and B, they've always seemed to fix them fairly quickly. This lawsuit will hurt if it goes through, and if they win and force Apple somehow to no longer charge 30% on these ads. Apple's just going to tell developers, okay, you got to pay us directly to be on the App Store. That's what is eventually going to happen if Apple loses this. And the price of all of our apps will go back up again. But I appreciate the fact that Apple's doing this. I wish these people who are bringing this lawsuit appreciated the other things rather than thinking that Apple's nickel and diming them. There's so much, as you said, going on behind the scenes that these people don't seem to understand, which is very frustrating.
Well, and I don't know that they'll ever understand because their motives are not aligned with what's best for the consumer.
Yes.
So I don't know that they'll ever listen. They just think that this is, a milk crate that they can stand up and yell on.
Yep, I agree.
And I don't think that they should be allowed. But
Apple, let's move on now. Apple was seemingly many years ago late to the NFC party, so supporting the near field communication protocol. They are now obviously knee deep in it. They recently announced expanded capabilities for NFC and Apple Pay, and as Macworld says, it could change everything. Have you read up on this? Do you know what I'm talking about?
The scooter deal?
Yeah, the scooter deal. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, there's still questions on how that's going to work, right? We don't know for sure. And I disagree that Apple was late to NFC because NFC, when NFC came in, there was no place to use NFC.
Yeah.
And, it was a checklist item for phone developers to say, we support NFC. Great, where can I use it? Well, you can't. Okay, well, then why are you bothering me with this? So, yeah, the fact that Apple's coming in on it with something different now, that's fine. We'll still have to figure out how that's going to work. But it's a scooter deal.
It's scooter and a few other things. It needs, obviously, to be a lot more widespread before a lot of us will even notice it. Although it was funny that who wrote this at Mac, Jason Cross at Macworld wrote this, and it's one of those things that I read and you go, really? Didn't you not read this? He said those rentable scooters, they're a lot less tempting when you realize you have to download an app and sign up before you can take your first ride. Oh, boo frickin' who? Are you kidding me, you big baby? But I said this off the top of the show. We frequently are in the big city, and I love using my iPhone to pay for parking using the Pay by Phone app. And they are one of the companies that are involved in this initial rollout of this NFC stuff. And that's going to be great. Apparently what will happen is all you do is you'll tap your phone on the NFC icon, and a web page will open up, and you'll tell the web page how many minutes you want to park for, your license number, all the stuff that you use in the Pay by Phone app, and boom, you walk away and everything's done. This is a huge convenience for these kinds of things. Parking is certainly one of them. Renting zip cars and e-scooters and that kind of stuff. You can see it working for food, for grocery stores. You would walk up to the grocery store and along with a barcode to be one of these NFC codes, you'd tap it, put it in your shopping cart, and you'd have paid for the food. You could just walk out without having going through checkout. I think this is going to be really interesting if Apple gets a lot more buy-in. Right now, there's only the initial three is the scooter company, Pay by Phone, and Bonobos Clothing Another thing too is that you can buy clothes. Clothes will have these security tags and with NFC codes in it. You'll just tap on it, pay for it, and walk out with the item.
Or just walk out with the item.
Or just walk out with the item. Have you ever done that in the Apple store? Have you ever done the Apple Pay thing where you don't talk to anyone? You grab a set of headphones and
no, I can't do it.
Neither can I.
I can't do it. I can't.
I know it works. I've seen it works. I personally cannot do it.
I can't do it because I know that they would say that homeless guy just stole that computer.
That's right.
And I can't bring myself to do it.
I know they don't do it for big things. I know you can't do it with an iPad or a laptop, but for headphones and things that are on the one of the side walls, cases and things like that, you can do it. But there's no way in God's green earth I'm ever going to try.
I go to a salesperson that has one of those machines, and I hold my hands up and say, I'm not trying to steal anything.
That's right.
You know.
MacMan says, I did it once after working retail for 20 years. It felt so wrong. Exactly.
Yeah, you know.
Speaking of the Apple stores, there's been a lot of talk in the last little while over that Bloomberg story, which was a typical bullshit Mark Gurman article about how the Apple stores have lost their luster. First of all, once again, there's no named people in the story. Secondly, there are so many Apple stores, you can't project your Apple store onto all 500 worldwide Apple stores. Marco Arment complained on Twitter that apparently he and his wife had gone to their local Apple store and started playing around with the Apple Watches and got scolded for it. That was his word, scolded for it by an Apple employee. And Gurman writes, "This isn't the Apple store I know." Well, it's not the Apple store any of us know. I've never, ever, I've gone to dozens of Apple stores and picked up Apple Watches to show off to friends, never once been accosted, scolded, spoken to in any way, shape, or form sharply by any Apple store employee. And yet, Gurman and others love to take these minor anecdotal points and try to turn them into data. How do you feel about the Apple Store? Is your local Apple Store or any Apple Store you go to, do you find it's gone downhill in any way, shape, or form?
No. The Apple stores are fine. I have one in Palo Alto, one in Stanford, at Stanford Shopping Center.
Yep.
So there's two within a few miles of me, and those are both great. I mean that's I actually online ordered something, a hard drive, because I was in need, and they delivered it in an hour.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was great. I think the Apple stores are great.
There's a big danger, and I try to warn people about this all the time, of a lot of these, especially tech pundits, with the idea of if it's good for me or bad for me, therefore it's good for everyone or bad for everyone. You really have to watch out for that kind of mindset and not get sucked into it. As I said, as I said when I wrote the story for The Loop, this is retail. It's easy to find any number of disgruntled employees of any retail organization, whether it be Apple or Target or whatever. Retail sucks. All right, it sucks for everybody. There's no one who works in retail for any length of time that enjoys retail. You do it because you kind of have to. You know what I mean? Especially if you're a floor worker. So it's easy to find disgruntled Apple Store employees writing anonymously on Reddit or any number of other websites. So it's easy to write these stories, but for the vast majority of people, what Gurman described is not true of the vast majority of Apple stores. It just isn't. They're not losing their luster. They're more crowded, but that's a good thing. It means they're more popular. I think the problem Apple has is because they're so particular with where they open stores, they're not going to open up kiosks in the middle of the mall kind of thing. They open up stores in particular areas for particular reasons. And therefore, if there's not enough stores in those areas, everyone goes to the one store, and therefore it's more crowded. They've got more customers. The store is going to be more crowded.
Yeah, and people will go to Apple stores for Genius appointments. They go there for, the courses that they put on. I just don't think that they're they're losing their luster. At least not for me. I mean, if I was going to go buy something that I needed for my iPhone or iPad or Mac, I would go to one of the two Apple stores that I mentioned.
Now, it's easy for anybody in our audience or any other audience to say, well, I had this problem at the Apple store. And mostly the time we hear about that stuff is with regards to Genius Bar services. A MacMan in the IRC chat room says, I did have one genius tell me my MacBook Pro's logic board was failing because the kernel panicked. When I sent it in for repair, they replaced the dead speaker. So, yeah, those stories are probably too widespread. But overall, the vast majority of people have very good service from the Apple Store. Apple may be screwing itself by offering too many services, too many things to too many people for free.
Maybe.
And that's what causes a lot of the thing. But popularity is not a bad thing overall. Apple's going to be happy being a retail outlet that's incredibly popular.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can't complain about that too much. The Verge ran a funny story about Apple iMessage and green bubbles and blue bubbles. Have you ever looked down on someone because when you went to text them, they had a green bubble?
So it's funny. There's a group of friends out here, probably 6 or 7 of us that are on this group chat, and one of the guys had an Android phone. No, yeah, he had an Android phone. And we would send like things that he couldn't see just to send it so that he couldn't see it.
That's just mean, man. That's just cruel. God, what do you expect from a Bruins fan, though? God, man. That's
I honestly don't care what kind of phone. When somebody pulls out their phone, most of the time it's an iPhone.
Yeah.
But when somebody pulls out an Android phone, I am kind of tempted to say, why?
Yeah.
But here, in Silicon Valley, they could be employees of Google
Sure.
or whatever,
Yep.
and this is the phone that they get. So,
Yeah,
I don't care what you use. If you can't see the messages that I'm sending, that's your problem.
I don't care what phone you use. I care what phone you text me from, though, because here in Canada, it costs me a nickel when you send me a green text, or when I have to send you a green text. That just pisses me. Well, they're still charging for SMS messages up here in Canada.
No.
Oh God, yes.
Oh my God.
Oh yes, they're still charging us, and they're charging them. They're charging for incoming SMS messages as well.
Oh, that's just a ripoff.
Which doubly pisses me off. I get X numbers per month for free, but if I go over that, then they're going to start charging me, a nickel or whatever it might be for every text message, not iMessage, but every text message that I get or send. And that's when it pisses me off that some Android user wants to chat to me, because I'll just say to them, dude, let me call you. If I see a green text, like, no, I'm going to call you. It's cheaper because I got minutes left.
Wow. I didn't know they still did that.
Oh God,
in Canada.
yeah. That's the only time I get pissed off at green text bubbles is when when someone says, here, just text me, I'll put their number in and it says text message at the bottom. It's like, nah, screw it, I'm just gonna call them. I'm not gonna text back and forth. I have to call you.
Damn.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's still, we're still in the dark ages up here in Canada when it comes to text messaging. That's for sure.
Oof.
What are you doing?
Hey.
We have never written this story over on The Loop, and I want to know from your point of view what would happen if I or Dave had written the story. This was Apple Insider last week. Monday. The headline: Anticipation over Apple's new modular Mac Pro mounts as first iffy renderings hit the web. They write, the first leak for the modular Mac Pro surfaced in the form of a supposed internal Apple document for the device, alleged evidence for the highly anticipated Mac that has many questionable elements making it very hard to believe it's genuine at all. If I had posted that on the Loop, what would you have said?
Well, I would have taken the whole site down and then thrown up to see you. No, I mean, you know, I think we have this great understanding between the three of us that, hey, there's a great rumor out there about a new iPhone or something. We're gonna post that and, you know, not validate it, but this is a really great one.
Yep.
But when it comes to renderings and shit like that, no.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just no. I don't even know what to say about that. No. God.
I think that it really pisses me off that websites like this, who sometimes, not often, but sometimes do good stuff, when they post these kinds of things, it makes the Mac web look bad. It makes all Mac, air quotes, journalists look bad. By the way, no real journalist would ever written or posted this story. There's too many. Yeah. You don't write stories that you personally describe. Not someone else. You're not quoting somebody else, but you are writing iffy rendering, supposed documents, alleged evidence, questionable elements. You don't write that stuff. You don't. If
those words are in your story,
yep,
just scrap it.
Exactly. The whole story, it's a bullshit story. Find confirming evidence of it some other way. Your second source, which most of the Mac web never does, find second sources. If you can't find a second source, then the story isn't worth posting. The only reason you're posting this story is because you got a queue of stories you have to print every day. You got to print 5 every day or whatever it might be, or it's straight up clickbait, click whoring journalism, and both are offensive ways to run a website.
Yeah,
there's no way Apple Insider should have ever posted that story. There's just too much bullshit there for them to have actually posted this. But I'm sure they got thousands of clicks for it.
And they do a lot of great stories.
Yep, they do.
They do. Over the last few years especially, they've done a lot of great stories. So I'm, a bit disappointed to see that one ended up there.
But they also do some dumb stuff. I mean, that's a perfect example. The other example is, why didn't Daniel Aaron L. Dilger writes for Apple Insider? Why didn't Apple just acquire Netflix rather than doing Apple TV Plus?
Well, look,
Netflix wasn't for sale, you moron.
Well, we all have, thoughts that we put out there, and people probably call me a moron more times than I can count. But
yeah, but not because of your writing.
Well, it could be. It could be. You never know.
But I mean, saying that just to me makes you sound stupid. Why didn't Apple buy Netflix? You have a fundamental misunderstanding of what capitalism is. Apple didn't buy Netflix because Netflix wasn't for sale. Netflix did not want to get bought. They're a public company. They can make that decision on their own. And the other reason that I think is even more interesting and more true is Netflix isn't the kind of service Apple wants. Apple wants this exclusive content, this exclusivity, this thing that they can say, hey, no one else has this stuff. We're not competing with Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and all the other kind of stuff. This is ours. No one else gets this. We don't got to share it with anybody. We created it. We bought it. This is our little model of what we think a movie TV subscription is going to be. I think
it's definitely a lot different.
I think if Netflix wanted to get bought, Apple probably wouldn't have bought them, because Netflix isn't the company that isn't the service that Apple wants to create.
I agree.
Well, on that happy note, that doesn't happen very often. Folks, to talk to Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. His goddamn Bruins are still in the playoffs, so go watch the game. Talk to you later, Jim.
See
you. Bye.
Shawn. Bye.
When we come back, we're going to talk to Melissa. I have a question. It's a new segment we're going to try out called I Have a Question with Melissa. All that and much more, doing our starting point photography segment as well, coming up after this break. This is your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining us here this Wednesday evening, or if you're tuning into the archive. If you're listening to the archive, thanks very much. Send us emails, as always, to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. So we're starting a new segment tonight called I Have a Question by Melissa. Melissa?
My question tonight is, how do I work on 2 documents at once on my desktop?
Now, you said something I thought was interesting, that you thought you already had split screen on your desktop, didn't you?
Well, if you look on the top line of your keyboard, you'll see the F3.
F3, yes. So
but I don't think that's quite what
Let me share your screen.
You can share my screen.
And we'll show the audience what you're talking about, what you are describing as split screen.
Yes.
Waiting for a response from Melissa's error. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to hide IRC chat, or you can hide IRC chat. Okay, so now make this bigger so the audience can see it. Hang on a second. Oop, 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 oop. Oh, it won't get bigger. All right, never mind. So now the audience is. So push F3, and we'll show the audience what happens.
Oh, sorry.
You don't have anything open.
Well, I can't. I'm a little bit worried about opening things because it's confidential. What can I put? I can open my college payment, and I will open my yoga schedule. Oops. Stop it.
Stop it.
Mr. King. Stop. I'm trying to open my yoga schedule. All right. So I have those 2 things open. Now I shall press F3.
Okay. Now what that is, that's not split screen, because you can't grab one of those documents, take data out of it, and put it into the other one.
No.
I think it's called dashboard. I don't ever use it, but if you had multiple things open, multiple windows open, your Finder and a YouTube video and a website and those kinds of things. Let me get rid of this now so that the audience can see your pretty face. If you had those multiple things open, then you would see a whole bunch of different windows. I'll do it on mine, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 windows. What that allows me to do is, rather than moving all these windows around trying to find that one document in the background, I can hit that key and go, oh, there it is. Click it, and that comes forward. That's not split screen.
It's just to access, quick access, therefore.
Yes, exactly. Monty, she's another one of those weirdos who has the dock on the side instead of on the bottom where God intends it to be. Mine's on the side too, Monty, so there. Do you know why you have yours on the side? It's just there, isn't it?
I got it like that.
Mine's on the side because it gives me more screen up and down. So when I'm scrolling documents, I can see more screen up and down. I've got a 27-inch monitor, so I'm okay with giving up stuff on the sides. That's why I don't like stuff on the bottom. Anyway, so I told you last week this really, really, really cool little trick that will give you an actual split screen. So you want to get that set up to show the audience? So open up 2 browser windows, basically.
Yes.
One of the issues we're having is because Melissa's, that's her work computer. There's sensitive documents there that you guys can't see, and that she's actually not allowed to show you.
No, I would get into trouble.
She might get in trouble for that too.
So can I open...
MacMan, that's why you set the dock to auto-hide. I hate auto-hide. I hate the dock jumping in and out like that when I get to the side. No, I don't want
should
that.
I open like Instagram and... Oh, you mean like working documents that I can...
Open up just 2 separate web pages. So open up your browser,
yes.
Then hit Command N. That will open up a separate window. Okay. Now move that window. Okay. So now... just to make sure you know how to do it, because we didn't rehearse this. Check to see if you can do the split screen thing that you want to talk about, and then if you can, we'll show the audience what it is. You've forgotten how to do it, haven't you?
No, I haven't forgotten at all, but I don't know if I have the right setup here.
I will do it for you.
Will you do it? Yes.
I will do it for you. Okay, so hang on a second, folks. Let me get Melissa to full screen and this to full screen. Okay. There we go. No available windows. So we need to have a browser window.
I
open.
did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, what it is is, let me put this full screen for the audience. The trick is, and I've always found these green dots up here on Mac. This is the only example I've ever found where Windows does it better than the Mac. On Windows, it maximizes the screen to fill up your whole screen. On the Mac, it goes to full screen, and full screen's a pain in the ass on the Mac. I hate it. But in this case, mission control, no, F3. What's F3 called, guys? Is it dashboard? In this case, if you simply click and hold on the green tab or green button there, it does this. Watch what happens on screen. It does that little thing, and in the background you can see it highlighted. So I'm going to let go now, and now it does side by side, actual real life side by side split screen, and you can take data out of one. And I'm going to copy this text and put it over here into Google, and it pastes that text. So if you need to work side by side on a document, or for me, for example, every morning I get up, I open up my content management system for the Your Mac Life Daily newsletter, and then I open up another window that's got my web browser in it. And now I'm going to go start searching through my web browsing stuff so I can see different websites, the Loop and CNBC and whatever other websites. Oh, that's an interesting story. Highlight, cut and paste over into my CMS newsletter, and I can go back and forth as much as I want. It's really, really neat. And I didn't know that you could do this. Before, what I was doing was I was grabbing the windows and trying to resize them manually using the mouse. It was a giant pain in the ass. But this way, if you just simply hover over the green dot and then click and hold, it will do multiple windows for you. So now I've got Melissa in two windows. I can click on here, and now Melissa's. So you could, in theory, read something on one side. Hang on, let me just do this so you can see Melissa. So, in theory, it's not going to work that way. Full desktop. Full desktop. There we go. You could be watching a video over here on the right-hand side, a YouTube video or movie or whatever it is, and then writing on the left-hand side, and looking at IRC or Slack or whatever it might be. It's really kind of a neat little trick that I learned just last week. I didn't know you could do this before, so I really like the way this works. To turn it off, you go to the top and just click once on the window, and it goes back to the way it's supposed to. Go ahead.
So I can cut and paste from that other, if it's not PDF, I can cut and paste from that other document into my document side by side.
Well, remember, you can still cut and paste too. If your PDF is editable, if you can highlight text on it, then you can move
and that
stuff back and forth. Because that's something you do a lot.
Well, just if I have references to other documents or medical report. Yeah. So it's really, for me, a wonderful discovery.
It's an action and an activity that you do on a regular basis that helps you. Oh, how did that get small?
For example, my recommendations that I have a whole folder of recommendations. I can pull that up, pull up my report, and just, instead of having to, I can just pull them and scroll through the recommendations.
Really easy to use, really helpful. There's a little bit of figuring out how to get out of this, but it's not that hard. It's clicking, just click on the green button. But it's easy to fix and easy to use. So just remember, just hover over the green dot, click and hold, wait for the screen just to do a little beep, and then when you let go, you'll have two windows side by side. And you can change those windows too. So if you decide you don't want to do, you want to do email and a Word document, or your web browser and a PDF, you can do that.
Or your calendar,
or your
emails, right, where you got to do all this scheduling, and I have to start. I have to kind of get into using it for all those different things too. It's pretty cool. Thank you, Mr. King.
You're welcome. Two things. Dave D said, so dumb question. Ordinarily, I'd say no, but new hardware at WWDC? Dave, I believe there's going to be a new MacBook Pro and they're going to show off the Mac Pro. I think the new MacBook Pro will be available right then and there at WWDC. The Mac Pro probably available later in the summer. That's just my guesstimate over this. MacMan, speaking of which, was there not a newsletter last Friday, or did it get lost in the ether? MacMan, there was a newsletter last Friday. Yeah, there was. I did send one out.
Well, yeah, Shawn did one super early because we went on a long...
That's right.
We went off for the day.
That's
we
right.
ran away for the day.
We did. We escaped.
Ran away for the day.
So if you want to go to the archive of the... I'll send you the link. The archive of the YML Daily. I'm just going to find it here. Where to go? There we go. You should be able to find it off of that link, MacMan. And also, that's the link to subscribe. So if you would like to, if you would, please pass that around to friends and family and others who might be interested in it. I appreciate your support of the YML Daily. I got an email from Richard Rumpkemper. Richard says, oh, sorry. I didn't do this right. Starting point for photography segment. I have to wait. Wait. In our starting point photography segment tonight, I got an email from Richard Rumker. Richard, hopefully I'm saying your name right. Richard, he said, you may know this already, but on a trip to Costa Rica, shooting wildly from a riverboat with tons of tourists, I shot video, not stills, and captured many more jumping monkeys and swimming alligators than my friends taking single shots simply did not get. Shoot the video and then watch and select the best single frame. You can shoot continuously, zooming, and picking the best shot from the video. Also, at a butterfly exhibit, I did the same thing. Shooting video captured way better shots as those little critters move around a lot. What's the problem with Richard's solution?
Is this similar to those moving photographs that you can take on your iPhone now?
Yeah, called live photos.
The live, sorry.
So basically what he's saying, he just films it, whether it's on his iPhone or his camera, and then he brings the film into an editing software. It goes through and goes, oh, that's a nice frame. And I'll grab that frame and use that one as an
What's
image.
wrong with it? I'm not sure.
The problem with it is, as Dave D and MacMan are both saying, frame size, detail, and low res. If he's doing that only on his iPhone, it might work and it might be okay. But you take those images and send them to somebody, post them on Facebook, on Instagram, you want to print them, those images are going to go to shit on you because they don't have the detail that a picture has. As MacMan says, even 4K video is only 2160 by 3840. Most of the time, MacMan, what's the resolution on an iPhone photo? So yeah, MacMan says that's 7 megabytes. Whereas on the iPhone, you're getting double that, 16 megabytes on the iPhone. So there's less detail in the picture. That detail doesn't matter so much when the picture is only this big. It's when that picture starts to get bigger that you're almost zooming in, you're losing that detail. Megapixels, not megabytes, my apologies. So the other issue is if you're going to film something, you're generally going to film it either 24 frames a second or 30 frames a second. So a frame is a picture. So you're shooting 24 pictures a second or 30 pictures a second. Well, you're going to shoot that video for, let's say, 30 frames a second for at least, say, 10 seconds. That's 300 frames. That's 300 images I've got to go through to find that one shot that I think is a good shot. Multiply that over, if you went to Costa Rica, probably he's looking at least, even if he's a good shooter, 20, 30 minutes, an hour of video that you've got to go through every single frame, in theory, to find those good shots. That's a giant pain in the ass. Now, the reason why he got better, and this is a supposition, Richard, on my part, the reason why you got better shots than your friends isn't because your shots are better. As we've shown, they're going to be fairly low detail and low resolution. It's because your friends don't know how to shoot using a camera. They don't know the tips and tricks of shooting action. They don't know how to set their camera up to shoot action, whether it's an iPhone or whether it's a DSLR. iPhones are notoriously not great for shooting high-speed action. So if you've got monkeys that are running around the trees, it's going to be hard to get a picture of a monkey running around a tree on an iPhone because with the native camera app. Now, if you use a different app, if something's moving, what do I have to change in my camera in order to capture that movement? Melissa?
If something is moving.
Which one of my camera controls do I change to capture the image?
What, you change your shutter speed?
Don't see. You always doubt yourself. Don't doubt yourself. You always change your shutter speed. If it's moving, it's shutter speed. And what do you do to your shutter speed to freeze motion?
If something's moving, to freeze motion.
You have a high shutter speed or a low shutter speed?
So if you want to freeze motion, I'd say a high shutter speed.
Exactly. So if you want to freeze motion, you want a shutter speed depending on the light, and we're assuming Costa Rica, bright sunny lights, unless you're in the canopy of the forest. He said he was in a boat, so I'm going to assume he's out in good light. What you need is a shutter speed of 1/1000th of a second.
Right.
At least 1/500th, probably 1/1000th of a second.
Right.
To get you got a monkey jumping from one branch to the next, and you want to capture that monkey in mid jump. 1/1000th. As high as you can go.
And you've got to be ready.
That's the other thing. You've got to anticipate the shot. One of the things I teach in the class is anticipation is one of the keys to better photography. Knowing what's going to happen and having your camera ready for what's going to happen. So in this case, you know the kind of shots you want are things moving. The boat moving, water moving, crocodiles, piranha, whatever the hell's around, it's moving. So you want to, at the very least, go to shutter priority, increase your shutter speed to 1/1000th, 1/2000th if you can, and then anticipate where these creatures are going to go. If there's a butterfly sitting on a leaf, you can see its wings moving. So get ready to shoot when the wings are fully extended. When a monkey is sitting on a branch, watch the monkey, and when you see it start to crouch to jump, start shooting. The other aspect is burst mode. And burst mode is almost kind of like shooting video, but it's higher quality. Have your camera set to burst mode, which will shoot a bunch of shots all over in once, and hold that shutter button down and follow that monkey as it shoots. Now you'll get 30 or 40 shots depending on your camera, but in those 30 or 40 shots, hopefully you've got one that's in focus, that is at the right shutter speed that you can get. And then the third thing you got to think about is focus. If you just use what's called single focus and you click and hold on the monkey, when the monkey moves, your focus point is there, but the monkey's now over there. If you move, you may have to refocus. So read your camera manual and see if your camera can do what's called continuous autofocus. And that's on newer cameras. The beginner cameras still have it, but it's on fairly new cameras. And continuous autofocus, your camera's smart enough to know, okay, you focus on that thing is now moving. I'm going to move my focus point along with it. Now, you obviously have to move your body as well, too. But those three things are why Richard was getting better shots out of his video than his friends were getting off an iPhone or a DSLR they didn't know how to use. If you know how to use your equipment, if you know what you're going to shoot, if you think about your photography, I guarantee you'll get better pictures than Richard did shooting video. Dave D says, I don't think video settings on any camera allow you to set shutter speed. I think it's fixed. I think that would make low light video tough. Are my assumptions right? Your assumptions are incorrect, Dave. On the iPhone, you can't set aperture. Your aperture is set at f2.2 for the 1 times, I think it's one time, and then 2.8 for the other one. You cannot change your aperture on your iPhone. You can change shutter speed, you can change ISO, you can change exposure. There's a bunch of things you can change. You just can't change the aperture on an iPhone. And obviously on a DSLR, you can change aperture, you can change shutter speed, you can change ISO, you can change all of those things. I meant for video, not for stills. dedicated video cameras do have a shutter speed, ability to change shutter speed on them. I know on my DJI drone, the Hasselblad drone, Mavic Pro 2, I can change my shutter speed on the Mavic Pro for shooting video as well. I don't know, because I don't shoot this kind of video on the iPhone, whether I can change the shutter speed on the apps, dedicated apps, not the native app. Like Moments is a great app for this kind of manual control over your iPhone. I don't know if you can do that with video on the iPhone. I'm pretty sure you can do the video. Like I said, I know you can change the shutter speed on video on cameras because my Mavic Pro 2 does exactly that. We've got 15 minutes to go because we have to leave. Or so I don't. She does. Where are you going?
I'm going to the yoga studio.
And why are you going to the yoga studio?
Because I want to do yoga with Ross.
Excuse me?
A
boy?
Yes, it's a boy.
You're not going to do yoga with a boy. No, you're not getting in all those bendy positions with some boy. You are doing a 6-week yoga challenge.
Oh, no, I'm just doing I have unlimited yoga, but I'm doing a 6-week, getting myself back to the studio again.
I kind of knew this, but I didn't actually know it, that there are different kinds of yoga.
Oh, yes.
There's,
oh, my gosh.
Most of us think of yoga as just being very calming and very stretchy and bendy. But I've watched you do yoga, and you come out in a sweat sometimes. There's different so what was the kind of yoga you went on Sunday and did? Start with an H.
Oh, no, Saturday. I did Hatha. And then Monday night. When did I go again? Monday night, I think, was Hatha. Yeah. And tonight is tonight is a practice that I have never even heard of.
So Hatha yoga is the sort of mellow.
Hatha it's still sweaty, but it's just you keep the poses longer, and it's just more of a, you hold the poses for longer and you breathe. Yeah. Tonight's practice is this Arkaya. I've never heard of Arkaya, so we'll see.
I'm still not happy about you doing it with a boy. That's all. So yeah, we have to get out of here at exactly 7:00 because she has to go over to the yoga studio. Got an email from Barry. Says, I know my internal and external drives will fail sometime. This is the old saw, that the old cliche. There are two kinds of people: those who have had hard drive failures and those who will have hard drive failures. It's a physical object. It's going to break. He says, are solid state drives safe from failure? Are they worth the high cost? I would say yes overall, but they are not safe from failure. They may fail as well. The downside of a solid state drive is they fail instantly. At least sometimes an external drive or an internal physical spinning disk hard drive, it'll start making noise. And you can go, shit, I've had it happen on several hard drives where just this, why are you making noise all of a sudden? You do a backup and you find out that drive is getting ready to fail. Solid state drives don't do that. They don't make noise. They don't have spinning bits. They just fail. I've never had a solid state drive fail, but it's not impossible for them to fail. Are they worth the high cost? It's always a tough call. I'd say if you're replacing a new hard drive and you can afford the solid state one, then get it. At least get one and then use an external drive for external backup. So for example, my internal hard drive on my iMac is a 1 terabyte solid state drive, but I've got external drives of 2 and 4 gigabytes that are slower, but they're external. And I've got extra terabytes. I can't afford, that's 6 gigabytes of drive space. I can't afford a 6 gigabyte SSD drive, but a 6 terabyte SSD drive. A 1 terabyte SSD drive is fairly inexpensive, kind of. It's still not as cheap as a 1 terabyte physical drive. They're falling out of Cracker Jack boxes now. They've gotten so cheap. SSD drives have a theoretical lifespan of 20 years, but that's just a theory. That's in perfect conditions. The advantage of an SSD drive is they are definitely faster than your spinning disk drives because they don't have the spinning disks. So the laws of physics said they can be faster. So it's okay to get them. They've been torture tested a lot. They're good from the usual suspects, the usual companies. I just saw someone say that the SanDisk 1 terabyte internal SSD drive is $120. It's not bad. That's a good price. Again, you'll get a 1 terabyte 1 terabyte drive, hard disk drive for cheaper than that. But if you're replacing a drive anyway, get at least a 1 terabyte drive and use it just for your system folder, for example, and your library. Don't put documents on it. Don't put games on it. Don't put that kind of stuff on it. But those things for startup and those kinds of things, you want to put on the faster drive. Still need to do backups. It's not going to get you away from needing or requiring backups. Our friend Scott Randall writes, Shawn, regarding your post in the Loop about the Adobe photography package, when I go to Adobe's website, it's still $9.99 a month. I just checked again now. By way of reference, Adobe 2 weeks ago was testing different prices on their website, which was a stupid thing to do. You don't got to test price increases. You know people are not going to be happy with price increases.
It's fine.
So they may have switched that because of all the press, negative press they got over that. They may have gone back to the original pricing. The discussion with Jim on TV shows and Apple TV. First, I think most people like and watch network TV. I have several shows I watch on a regular basis and enjoy them. Some shows on Netflix, Amazon are great, but people like other things as well. Now, with Disney making their subscription $7 a month, Apple cannot charge more than that. See, I think he's dead wrong on that. He says you'll get the whole Disney catalog for that price. Apple does not have the content to make its subscription worth any more than that and probably should charge less. I think Apple's got the cojones to charge for this specific content that's created specifically for the Apple TV that's never been available anywhere else, never been in theaters, never been on Blu-ray, never ever been seen. I think I'd be surprised to see how much Apple will charge for this. One more thing. Our article was mentioned in your conversation with Jim stating that Apple cannot be successful sticking to G content. Not true. All of Disney's content is G, and no one will say they are not successful. Also not true. There's lots of Disney content that's not G. They just put it under different production companies. There's lots of companies that Disney owns that produce G, PG-13, even R-rated stuff. They're just not called Disney. Disney owns them, but Disney breaks that stuff. I think Touchstone is one of their production companies that Disney owns that creates that other content for Disney so Disney can dip their feet in the water of PG-13 and restricted content. I was really disappointed in Apple for lobbying to kill the right to repair bill. I really think Apple's being a little greedy in this respect. They want you to bring repairs and upgrades to Apple Store or Apple authorized shops, or just buy a new computer if something breaks. If you have the ability to fix your own stuff, you should be able to. You paid for it, it's yours. You should be able to repair it and upgrade it yourself if you choose. Yes, if you break something and void the warranty, that's on you. Jim's inference that people will sue Apple if they get hurt due to the battery when fixing their iPhone is just that. People repair all sorts of things themselves. There's no history of any of them suing the manufacturer of injuring themselves. I've been fixing and upgrading my computers ever since the Apple II GS. I'd like to be able to do that now, only Apple has manufactured all the computers to make it difficult or impossible to do that. I wish Apple would have made the new Mac Mini like an NUC, Intel NUC. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you sending me those emails, as always. What are the other ones I got? I flagged a bunch of stuff that doesn't show up. I hate when that happens. I'm just trying to go through this stuff real quick because I know we've got to get Melissa out of here.
I have to step into my bendy, stretchy clothes.
See, don't tell me that. Don't tell me you're going to step into bendy, stretchy clothes and then go be bendy, stretchy in front of some other guy.
Silly.
Come on. Don't forget, Melissa's birthday is on Friday. She will be 45 years old. I demand you all send her birthday greetings to melissa@yourmaclifeshow.com. That's her email address. If you have any questions.
Fine if you don't.
No, it's not. It is not fine if you don't.
Okay, it's not fine.
Every listener of Your Mac Life, simply just melissa@yourmaclifeshow.com. Happy birthday. That's it. It'll take you 4 seconds. Just do it. Because I told you to. Remember, she's 45, too. Keep that in mind. Where was I going with that? There was a reason I was going somewhere with that.
We have to go and...
No, birthday.
Birthday... And we're having a get-together. Mr. King has started. We're going to do a games night down at one of the local breweries.
MacMan, I thought it was your 29th. Don't be foolish. Come on. That's stretching it. Come on. No, 45.
I'm not 45.
Yes,
but
you are.
Anyway, Mr. King
in my
likes
mind, you are 45.
In his mind, and that's his reality.
That's right. And if you have any questions for Melissa's I Have a Question segment.
Oh.
Send them to Melissa.
Yeah, because I always have questions too. So don't
So if you have a question you think you'll sound dumb asking it, send it to Melissa.
And I'll ask it.
Because that way she can sound dumb asking it.
I'm always going, Shawn. He's so patient. He always stops and he always helps me.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So send emails to melissa@yourmaclifeshow.com if you have any questions that you want her to ask or things that you want her to find out. Hey, Melissa, how do I do this? Send them to her, and we'll see if we can do that. I want this to be a regular segment on the show that you can.
I thought MacMan was just out of high school.
See, look at you. He's
only 5 years younger than me.
I can't believe you guys are just kissing each other's butt in the IRC. Stop it. Just stop it.
No, we're not.
It's unseemly. Folks, I want to say thanks very much to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com for being here each and every week. Thanks to you guys whether you're tuning into the archive or listening in to the show live. Especially you folks who are in the IRC chat room. You guys make the show. Half the fun is in the IRC chat room. That's it. Until next week, as always, I've been Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
And you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya.
Bye. Toodles. That's what they say.